Is all the controversy surrounding carbs and sugar giving you a wee headache? Well, here to set us straight is dietitian and AUT senior lecturer, Dr. Caryn Zinn. Welcome to the show. Lovely to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
We're going to talk about carbs.
Yes.
When I think of carbs, I think sugar and I think flour and bread. Are those our main kind of, and how evil are they?
Yeah, they are our main carbohydrate sources: breads, cereals. We also get carbohydrate from fruit and vegetables, but also from those processed foods like crackers, muesli bars, sugar-sweetened drinks.
How different are the carbs that you get from fruit that is literally picked off a tree as compared to something that is processed out of a packet?
Well, that's kind of interesting because there's not a lot of difference between the actual sugar molecule itself, whether it's glucose or fructose, and table sugar is sucrose, which is made up of glucose and fructose. But the difference comes in the actual food that contains the carbohydrate. So some carbohydrates give you way better nutrient profiles than others.
Like an apple compared to a packet of something?
Absolutely. Fruits and vegetables, particularly vegetables, give you the carbohydrate that you want to have, whereas a lot of the others, I just don't think that we should be having a lot of them.
Is it a case of some people can tolerate them better than others? Because I know some people just cannot eat bread, for example, plays havoc with their guts.
Yeah, absolutely. You get what we call carbohydrate sensitive people and carbohydrate intolerant people. Most of our population seems to struggle with dealing with the glucose from the food. So, you know, our national guidelines tell us we need to eat mostly carbohydrate foods, and I think we've got that wrong.
How wrong? Like, and turn it upside down?
Possibly. I mean, you know, everyone's got individual goals when it comes to carbohydrate, and, you know, athletes in certain population groups and carbohydrate-sensitive people might need more carbohydrate than others.
Don't you need it for energy, though?
You do. You definitely need carbohydrate for energy, but carbohydrate is actually only one of the energy providers. Fat is also a very good energy provider.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of your daily intake of carbohydrate, what would, you know, the average person, how much should we be eating?
The average person has somewhere between 250 plus grams of carbohydrate.
That's what we're having? Is that what we should be having? We should be having a whole lot less, do you think?
Well, there's a lot of debate about what we should be having. I believe that we should be having less carbohydrate, and we should be getting our carbohydrate from whole foods, real foods that actually rot and provide us with the nutrient density that we need. So,
should we be having toast for breakfast, for example?
Again, it depends on individual goals and sensitivities. You know, some whole grain toast is not the end of the world, but I think that there'd be a lot better quality breakfasts, like an omelette with lots of vegetables and some good quality fat included in that.
What about your cereals that you get out of a packet straight from the supermarket?
Yeah, I think the food industry are setting us up for an interesting journey with regards to health. And you know, if you look at some of those cereals, the amount of sugar that's added to them is just, it's ridiculous.
Sugar's often, sometimes the first ingredient when you look at the back.
Absolutely.
If not, it's the second.
Absolutely. And you know, we expect people to have degrees in nutrition and be able to understand food labelling and things like that. So, you know, to get a good message across to public health, I think, you know, it's a hard one, but I think the best way to do that is to just say, eat whole foods.
Yeah. Which I guess sometimes is easier said than done. It can be expensive. But I did have a health professional tell me once that getting off sugar, as in cutting it out of your diet, is harder than getting off a Class A drug, like Coke or something.
Well, there are very
that addictive.
Yeah. There are very strong parallels, definitely, and that addictiveness. People do find they have withdrawal symptoms when they come off sugar.
Well, there's certain times of the day where it strikes, and you just have to have the cookie.
Yeah,
and when you have, it's like
absolutely. And it's, you know, we're living in a toxic environment. It's all around us.
Yeah.
And it's hard to resist some of the time.
So in terms of sugar being hidden in our food and trying to just at least cut down, what do we need to look for on the backs of packets? Or I guess, as you say, just start trying to eat as whole foods as you can.
I was going to say, maybe we shouldn't look at packets at all. Yeah. You know, if you go to the supermarket, just go around the four walls. It's all those, you know, those aisles in the middle that trap us.
I think too, though, it can be a convenient and an easy option for busy mums and dads who've got to make lunches in the morning for their kids. So
yeah.
it's a whole mind shift, isn't it, getting over that and past that.
I agree. But, you know, it's what you put in, you get out. And, you know, we've got our health, and without our health, we've got nothing. So it's also a little bit of a myth about the convenience, because what's more convenient than putting an apple in your lunchbox, or some baby carrots, or some chopped up celery?
Little Jimmy coming home with the whole apple and the celery not even eaten.
Yeah, that is a problem.
That's a battle and an ongoing one. So if we had some take-home tips in terms of carbohydrates, what would that be? I
think two take-home messages would be: get your carbohydrates from whole foods, from foods that rot, and from foods that give us the nutrients that we really need. Yeah. And also the second take-home message would be: avoid processed carbohydrate foods and packaged foods wherever possible. Wonderful, Caryn, thank you so much. You're welcome. And Caryn is back next week with the lowdown on fats. Coming up, we're reliving the rock and roll magic of Bill Haley and the Comets right after this.